Alright, peoples, let's have a look at how dialogue works in Drika's Hotspot. Now, I do want to make a quick distinction here, because in the drop-down box for Drika's Hotspot, you have two dialogue options. You have this one, which says dialogue, and then you also have this one, which says start dialogue. Now, there's a big difference between these two. This one is actually to start vanilla dialogue. So if you had a vanilla dialogue in the level, and you click the drop-down box here, you'll see it, you can select it, you can start it that way. But what we're going to be looking at is this option here, which is DHS's system for doing dialogue. Now you might wonder, well, why go with DHS? The vanilla dialogue editor works just fine, creates great dialogue, and it does, but DHS is actually way more powerful if it's used right. And the reason for this is because it's integrated with the rest of the hotspot. So when you start a DHS dialogue, you're not stuck with just these options here. You can smoothly go back and forth between the dialogue and, I don't know, display text or create particle, things like that. You can do this all in one hotspot. And that allows you to do some pretty powerful things, which the vanilla dialogue just simply isn't capable of. So we'll exit this for now. Don't need this anymore. I have prepared two dialogues for you. So I've got the basic dialogue, which is just what you need to get a dialogue going. It doesn't include animations. It doesn't include... it doesn't really include anything aside from just the basics of getting a dialogue to work. Just getting some lines in there, some camera shots, things like that. And then, after we finish taking a look at that, we'll also have a look at the normal dialogue. Now, I'm going to have a mod on the workshop that allows you to open this up and take a look at it yourself. And so, there's going to be a lot of comments in these hotspots, and there's going to be a lot of things I skip over. And that's just because that's stuff that you're meant to take a closer look at yourself and see how it works by tweaking things yourself and just experimenting. So we will be skipping over a lot, this just to keep this video timely and keep things moving here. Before we dive into how everything works, though, let's just have a look at the first basic dialogue and see how that plays. It is night in Turner's village, a year before the events of Lugaru. Turner and Robin are on watch. It's cold tonight. I wonder how young Robin is doing. First night on watch is always the hardest. Brrr, it's freezing out here. Alright, boys, it's time to plunder. Kill the guards on watch first, and then each of us will take a hut. Is he sleeping down there? Something's not right. Robin, I need to get down there. Who could have done this? That'd be me and my boys, little rabbit. And you're next. I'll kill you for this. And I got lasers. So, there's a couple things you might notice. First of all, no animations. The characters just show the default animation there. And things are pretty basic, but that's the point. This was just to show you the bare minimum of how to get a dialogue going in DHS. So, now that we've taken a look at the dialogue played out there, let's dive into the hotspot. When you're creating DHS dialogue, the first thing you want to put down is a dialogue start. If you don't put this down, the game doesn't know that you want to go into dialogue mode, so it's going to keep making the camera follow the player, and it'll just keep doing a whole bunch of stuff, and your dialogue will be really buggy and probably just not work. There are exceptions to this. There are sometimes maybe that you could skip this, but 99 out of 100 times you're going to want to put down a dialogue start. And the next thing you're likely going to want to do, except once again in special cases, is you're going to want to take control of your actors. And that's because just because you've started a dialogue doesn't mean that you've automatically taken control of all the characters, you've automatically put everybody into place. Now, the way this works in the vanilla dialogue is you set the amount of participants and then you attach each character to their box. But in DHS, you're simply saying, well, I want to control this guy, this guy, this guy, this guy. So that's what we're doing here, is we're just taking control of all the different actors. That's a pretty simple process. You just find your character, or if you need to type in the name or ID or whatever, and then you just hit this set dialogue control option here. Now your characters won't be reacting to sounds or enemies or fighting or dying or any inconvenient things like that. Once your characters are all under control, and keep in mind here, you might want to control characters who aren't even part of the dialogue if they're going to be characters who might wander into the shot or things like that. But anyway, once all the characters you want are under control, then you're going to want to position everybody. And so when you choose set dialogue position, you're going to have a little placeholder that appears here. And then you drag that placeholder over to where you want your character to be. And your character will follow that. And so you'll be able to see exactly where you want them to go. Once you are in dialogue mode, by the way, and once the character is under dialogue control, they will be ignoring a lot of physics. So they can just be clipped through the ground, things like that. Fairly similar to how it works in in vanilla dialogue. So once your characters are all in position, then it's simply a matter of pointing a camera at them or pointing a camera wherever you want to start. That works the same way as set actor position. You're just going to see a little camera placeholder appear there, and you're going to see the camera preview pop up, and then you can drag the camera around. Just like vanilla dialogue, if you scale the camera, you can zoom in, things like that. And you can also set depth of field and things like that, but we'll go into that in the next hotspot there. So after you have your characters in position and under control, your dialogue start, characters are in position, cameras in position, you're ready. Then you're going to pick dialogue say. And I have a name here as the way to select this first one. Now, in most DHS things, you can use this name identifier to identify named objects. But with the dialogue option, you could also just type in a random name here that doesn't even exist as an object, and it'll put that in. Whatever you type in there will appear right here. For the most part, though, you will want to use character. So in this next one here, you'll see I have dialogue say, and then I just pick my character. It pulls the name from the object, which you'll have hopefully named already. So for example, Robin here, I have named as Robin in his options here. So it pulls that name and then it puts it right over here. And then I had one more example here, just to show how DHS is different from vanilla dialogue. You can do other things in the middle of the dialogue. So in this case, I released control of Robin and I did cut throat. And so that allowed me to kill Robin in a pretty graphic way right in the middle of the dialogue instead of having to wait and do that at the end or rely on some sort of animation. I actually completely killed that character right in the middle of the dialogue. And then of course after that it's just swapping camera positions and dialogue says. And when you're done, you have to put a dialogue end. If you don't put a dialogue end, then your camera won't change back to follow. Your characters will stay under dialogue control. Basically, you'll have stopped the game, pretty much. So dialogue end tells DHS that you are ready to be finished. You are done all the dialogue stuff you wanted. So it's gonna give back control to all the characters. It's gonna give back camera control to your player, things like that. And then that's pretty much it. That's all you need for DHS dialogue. You have a start and an end. You set the control, you set the position, you set the camera, and you put in a dialogue say. And then you just swap between those and you'll have a working dialogue. So now that we've taken a look at what you can do when you just slap things together really quick and just want to get something out there that works, now let's have a look at what can happen when you put a little bit more time into the dialogue. And take advantage of some of the features DHS has to create something a little more unique. So I'm just going to hit play here, and this time we're going to pick the full dialogue. First night on watch. How do you feel? Ready for duty, sir. Good. Remember, you can't afford to fall asleep. The lives of our village could depend on us if an enemy came here tonight. I'll be up there. If you see anything strange, just wave at me. I won't let you down, sir. We have a choice here, so I'm going to pick head up to the tower. I know you won't, kid. I'll wake Skipper to relieve you in 4 hours. Until then, the watch is yours. Whew, looks like it's going to be a cold one tonight. Alright, boys, move in. First the guards, then each of us will take a hut. Go! Shh! Everyone get out of sight. Too quiet. Something's not right. Sleeping? Really? It's only been a few minutes. Wait. Oh no, Robin! No, 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 this is my fault. You were just a kid. What am I going to tell your mother? I don't think you'll be telling anyone anything pretty soon. You'll die for this, bandit. Slowly. Unarmed against 3 of us? Ha! Let's take him out, boys. Yeah, but I got lasers. Alright, so as you can tell, I'm not really gonna dive into the gameplay or whatever. This video is about the dialogue. That's why I'm just laser zapping everybody. But yeah, that was the normal dialogue. That was the dialogue that I put a little bit more time into to show sort of what's possible in DHS. Now, before I open this up, I just want to mention there is going to be a lot in here I'm just going to skip over. This is designed for you to open up the mod yourself, dig into it yourself, read the comments, and learn by doing. I'm just going to point out a few of the things that were different, a few of the other features that I included in this dialogue, and maybe skim over how some of the stuff was done. Alright, so let's take a look. Okay, so first thing I did was I set control of the entire team. Just a little thing. It just there's little shortcuts you can do, so you don't have to put in quite as many lines. And then of course, you know, you've got all the set actor positions up here, but this time I changed how the dialogue looked. And so that's in dialogue settings. So you have an option of several different layouts here. So default is the one you're used to, and then you got simple, Breath of the Wild, Chrono Trigger, Fallout 3, Luigi's Mansion, Mafia, and all of them look a little bit differently from each other. I changed the font, tweaked the text size, blah blah blah, all that fun stuff. You can even put the dialogue at the top or the center if you wanted. I chose to keep it at the bottom. And I also went into the actor settings so that each character could have their own color for their name and also their own voice. Now, voice is just It's just that sound when the dialogue is scrolling along, and you hear this sort of little that sort of sound. So it's not a big thing, but it's still kind of cool that you can add it. And now I didn't give the character an avatar in this one, but you could actually create avatars for each character, and then you could pick them here, and then they would appear on the side of the dialogue as an avatar when the character's talking. Pretty cool feature. I didn't really have time to add that, but I thought I'd call it out here. And of course, you'll notice that in this dialogue there are actual animations. So the animation selector here is pretty simple. You just have a great big list of all the different animations you could do. If you click on an animation, you will see the character do that animation as you're clicking on it, so you can preview what's going on. I won't go into all these different options here, but I will point out wait animation end. So that will stop the hotspot from going forward until the animation is done, which can be quite helpful, but some animations are looping animations, so you just want to make sure that if you have this option checked, that you have an animation that isn't a looping animation, or the hotspot will just go on forever. And the other thing I'll mention, this is a pretty recent feature for DHS, is you can actually select custom animations, and then they will appear in this list from then on for that map. And of course there's a search bar here as well. So for example, if I wanted all the ones which say dialogue, then I could type that in, and then that narrows it down to all of those. I won't go into that anymore. You can explore that and try out the different options yourself. I will point out the camera here, where I was using the depth of field options to blur the background a little bit. So you can actually see that happen in the preview. You can just move that slider back and forth and you'll see how the background will look. Very handy for making your shots look a little bit more polished. And I didn't use this here, but a little further on you'll see where I use the option look at target. I'll also point out transition method. I didn't use that in this dialogue, but move transition would very quickly move the camera from its current position over to the new one, and then fade will just fade to black and then into the next one. Now with DHS, head direction, torso direction, things like that, you're not automatically forced to use them. If you just want your characters to look straight ahead, that's fine, and then as you need them, you can add them in. So in this case, I wanted Robin to look a little bit up at Turner, so I chose to set the head direction. Let me actually let me click through these here and get everybody into position. Okay. So yeah, I just wanted Robin to look up at Turner a bit, and I have the shot designed so that he appears smaller. I want to show he's a little bit of a kid here. And so I chose the set head direction option just to make him look upwards a bit. And then a little further on I also pick set torso direction and things like that to try to make him point. Those work the same as the set position. If you add one of these, you'll see the placeholder here, then you drag it over to where you want it to be. You'll see the character's head or torso or whatever following it. And also, like in the vanilla dialogue, if you scale these, it has a smaller or bigger effect. So that's that. Let's scroll down through here real quick. Oh yeah, we had the choice. That is a fun feature of DHS, which you cannot do in vanilla dialogue. And if you know a little bit about creating loops or skipping certain sections or things like that, you can set up choices. And that's pretty simple. You can choose how many choices you want. It goes up to 5. Then you type in your answer and you pick the line that you want it to go to if you pick this choice. So the way I set this one up was I had the standard dialogue where Robin dies and is down at this bottom area here. I have that right underneath, and so the dialogue choice will just go to that. And then if the character picks the other one, then it's going to jump all the way down to the bottom here and do this short little piece of dialogue right here. So that is a really cool feature of DHS that I haven't seen enough use of. I'd love to see more people using dialogue choice in maps and like full conversations, things like that. I'm looking forward to people creating that. And I've also used the fade to black option here, just to make a more smooth transition. And so target alpha is just how black, so you could have it fade to only be semi-transparent, like that. It just gets a little bit darker. And of course fade duration is how long it takes. Let's go over how Robin was killed in this one. So in the previous one, Robin, I just released dialogue control and then I applied cutthroat. But in this one I wanted to show Gnarly actually killing Robin, so it got a little bit more complicated. Basically everyone gets put in position, like that, and then to make him attack, first thing I did was I just took down Robin's damage resistance and all that, just to make sure he dies in the first hit and it's quick. And then I set the actor to omniscient. So that means that as soon as he gets out of dialogue control, he'll immediately know where all his enemies are, and he'll act instantly, though he gets a little bit buggy about that. And then all I did was released dialogue control of both Gnarly and Robin, so that causes Gnarly to see Robin right in front of him and attack, and the moment I detect that Robin is not awake, so he's either dead or unconscious, then I took control of Gnarly again, so that he doesn't go running after Turner. Pretty simple, and it also brings up a point, though, that I need to mention, which is that the characters can skip dialogue. And if you skip a dialogue, then DHS will run through all the actions in that dialogue, and it will perform them, and then jump to the end. But if you think about it, if it does that all in an instant, then nowhere here did I actually tell DHS to kill Robin. And it relies on that little moment of Gnarly noticing Robin and killing him. So if you were to skip through this, Robin would actually remain alive. So even though Robin died, I also put in a character control kill, so that if the player were to skip, Robin would still be dead. Another thing here, I use the option of coloring text. So if you choose, there aren't many colors, but if you pick, for example, like red, blue, or green, and you put them in between these tags, then the text from there on will be that color until you put one of these in there. So that's just a fun little feature. I use that here, and then I use that near the end of it as well. And that's pretty much it. There's a lot more to dive into here, and the comments I've put in these hotspots goes through a lot more of what I was doing for this dialogue and for the previous one. But it would take too long to go through all of this in the video, so download the mod, open it up, take a look at it, and tweak and experiment and discover for yourself how this stuff works. The comments are very, very thorough, and even if you didn't watch this video, you could very easily figure out how the dialogue works just from downloading the mod. And that's it. DHS dialogue in a nutshell. Hope you enjoyed, hope you learned something, and I will see you later.